Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. Nathan Carter stood in the kitchen, carefully chopping vegetables for dinner. The aroma of garlic and olive oil filled the air, blending with the faint sound of Bella's favorite playlist echoing from the living room. For years, this had been their routine. Nathan cooking while Bella worked late or lounged after a long day. But tonight felt different. Bella's laughter, once bright and carefree, now seemed distant. She had been spending more time on her phone lately, her face illuminated by its screen even during their shared meals. "Long days?" Nathan asked, placing the salad bowl on the table. Bella looked up, startled as if caught off guard. Oh yeah. You know how it is at work." Nathan nodded, but something about her tone felt off. He couldn't shake the feeling that she wasn't telling him the whole truth. They had been married for 8 years, but Nathan felt like he knew her less with each passing day. Dinner that evening was quiet, the kind of silence Nathan had grown used to over the past few months. Bella was scrolling through her phone, her thumb moving quickly as she typed out messages. Nathan watched her from across the table, his fork paused midair. "Who's got you so entertained?" he asked with a light smile, though there was a tinge of unease in his voice. Bella didn't look up. "Just work stuff. We're prepping for a new campaign." Her answer was smooth, but Nathan noticed how quickly she flipped her phone face down when he asked. "Must be a big project," Nathan said, trying to keep the conversation going. "It is," Bella replied, taking a sip of her wine. Her tone was nonchalant, but she didn't elaborate. Nathan let it go, but the pit in his stomach remained. He wasn't the kind of man to jump to conclusions, but lately, Bella had been distant. Her late nights at work, her newfound obsession with the gym, and her evasive answers. It was hard to ignore the growing list of red flags. The following morning, Nathan woke early, as was his routine. He enjoyed the quiet of the house before the chaos of the day began. Bella's side of the bed was empty. She had left for the gym an hour ago. As Nathan sipped his coffee, his eyes fell on her phone, left charging on the counter. A small voice in his head told him to ignore it, to respect her privacy. But another, louder voice urged him to look. He hesitated for a moment before picking up the phone. The screen lit up with a flood of unread notifications, mostly work emails and group chats. But one message stood out. "Can't wait to see you again. Friday." Nathan's chest tightened. The message was from someone named Matt G. He didn't recognize the name, and Bella had never mentioned anyone by that name. The sound of the front door opening snapped him out of his thoughts. He quickly set the phone back down and busied himself with his coffee. Bella walked in, her face flushed from her workout. "Morning," she said, planting a quick kiss on his cheek. "Morning," Nathan replied, forcing a smile. Inside, his mind was racing. Over the next few days, Nathan's suspicions grew. He began paying closer attention to Bella's behavior. How she would smile at her phone, the extra care she took in her appearance before heading out, and the way she seemed more energized than usual. One evening, as Bella was showering, Nathan couldn't resist any longer. He opened her laptop and searched for any clue that might confirm his fears. It didn't take long. There, in her email drafts, was an unsent message to Matt G. "Looking forward to Friday night. I'll make an excuse to get away early. Can't wait to see you." Nathan's hands trembled as he read the words. He felt a wave of anger, sadness, and disbelief crash over him. This was the woman he had built his life with, the woman he had loved and supported through everything. But now, she was slipping away, and not by accident. Nathan waited until the following evening to confront Bella. He wanted to be calm, to gather his thoughts and avoid a blow-up argument. As they sat down to dinner, he looked her straight in the eye. "Bella, who's Matt?" Bella froze, her fork hovering over her plate. "What? You heard me. Matt. Who is he?" Nathan's voice was steady, but there was no mistaking the tension in it. Bella set her fork down slowly, her face a mask of confusion. "He's just someone from work." "Why?" Nathan leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. "Because you're meeting him on Friday. Care to explain why you didn't tell me?" For a moment, Bella's expression faltered. Then, she let out a small laugh, shaking her head. "Oh, Nathan, you're being ridiculous. It's just a work dinner. He's part of the new campaign team, and we're brainstorming ideas." Nathan didn't buy it. Then why hide it? Why the secrecy? Bella's eyes narrowed. I didn't hide anything. You're the one snooping through my stuff, making up stories in your head. Honestly, Nate, this is pathetic. Her words stung, but Nathan refused to let her deflect. If it's so innocent, why not invite me along? Bella scoffed. Because it's work. You wouldn't understand. Nathan felt his temper rising, but he bit it back. Fine, but I'm warning you, Bella. If you're lying to me, if there's something you're not telling me, it's going to come out. Bella rolled her eyes. You're overthinking this. Go ahead and stew in your paranoia if it makes you feel better. With that, she stood up and walked out of the room, leaving Nathan alone with his simmering anger. Nathan knew he couldn't confront Bella again without proof. If she was lying, he needed to catch her in the act. He reached out to Marcus, his oldest friend and a sharp-witted lawyer. Over a beer, Nathan poured out everything that had been happening. The messages, the secrecy, and Bella's dismissive attitude. Marcus listened intently, nodding as Nathan spoke. Sounds like she's testing the waters, Marcus said finally. You need to make her think she's in control while you gather evidence. What do you mean? Nathan asked. Let her think you're oblivious. Don't push her. If she feels safe, she'll slip up. And that's when you'll catch her. Nathan nodded, his jaw set with determination. He wasn't going to let Bella walk all over him. If she wanted to betray him, she'd regret it. Nathan took Marcus's advice to heart. For the next few days, he played his role perfectly, calm, oblivious, and seemingly distracted by work. He acted as though Bella's excuses and dismissive attitude no longer fazed him. Bella, sensing no immediate threat, seemed to grow more comfortable in her deception. She stayed out later than usual, her smiles becoming more frequent and her conversations more superficial. Nathan watched it all unfold like a silent observer, his resentment growing with each passing day. On Friday evening, Bella emerged from the bedroom dressed in a sleek black dress Nathan hadn't seen before. Her makeup was flawless, her hair styled to perfection. Big night? Nathan asked, keeping his tone light as he adjusted his tie in the hallway mirror. Bella smirked. Just dinner with the team? Don't wait up. Nathan nodded, hiding the storm brewing inside him. I've got plans too. See you later. Bella raised an eyebrow. Plans? What plans? Just catching up with an old friend, Nathan said casually, grabbing his car keys. Bella seemed momentarily surprised, but she quickly masked it with a shrug. Well, have fun, she said, walking out the door. Nathan waited a moment, then followed her. He had rented a car for the evening to avoid suspicion, parking a few blocks away from the house. As he tailed Bella, his hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, his heart pounding. Bella arrived at a trendy rooftop restaurant in the city, where Nathan watched from a discreet distance as she greeted a tall, well-dressed man, Matt G. Their hug lingered a moment too long, and Nathan felt a fresh wave of anger wash over him. He took out his phone and snapped a series of photos. Bella and Matt laughed over drinks, their body language far too intimate for coworkers. Nathan stayed long enough to confirm his suspicions before leaving. The betrayal was no longer just a suspicion. It was real, and now he had proof. The next morning, Nathan acted as though nothing had happened. He made breakfast, humming softly as he worked, and greeted Bella with a warm smile when she finally emerged from the bedroom. You're in a good mood, Bella said, eyeing him cautiously. Why wouldn't I be? Nathan replied, sliding a plate of eggs and toast in front of her. Life's good. Bella seemed uneasy, but didn't press further. Nathan, meanwhile, had already begun laying the groundwork for his revenge. He called Marcus later that day. I have the proof, Nathan said. Now we move to the next phase. Marcus chuckled. Good. Let's make her regret every choice she's made. Nathan's first step was to rebuild himself. He had spent too long catering to Bella's needs, sacrificing his own happiness in the process. Now it was time to focus on himself. He joined an upscale gym, hired a personal trainer, and revamped his wardrobe. His evenings were no longer spent waiting for Bella to come home. Instead, he threw himself into work, networking events, and self-improvement. His transformation didn't go unnoticed. Colleagues complimented his new look, and old friends reached out to reconnect. Even Bella seemed taken aback by the changes, though she said little about them. But Nathan wasn't doing this to win her back. He was doing it for himself, and to show Bella exactly what she had lost. With Marcus's help, Nathan began discreetly setting his plan into motion. He met with a private investigator to gather more evidence, not just of Bella's infidelity, but of any potential misconduct that could benefit him in the event of a divorce. At the same time, he strengthened his connections at work, ensuring his financial stability should the marriage come to an end. But Nathan's revenge wasn't just about legal or financial wins. It was about turning the tables on Bella emotionally. He wanted her to feel the sting of betrayal, the regret of realizing what she had thrown away. One evening, as Nathan left the gym, he ran into Elena, a former colleague he hadn't seen in years. Elena was sharp, witty, and effortlessly charismatic. They caught up over coffee, and Nathan found himself opening up to her about his situation. "I can't believe she'd do that to you," Elena said, her tone laced with disbelief. "You deserve so much better." Nathan smiled, feeling a spark of confidence. "Thanks, Elena. I'm working on making sure she realizes that." Their connection grew quickly, and though Nathan wasn't ready to jump into a new relationship, Elena became a trusted confidant. She offered him advice, encouragement, and, most importantly, a reminder that he wasn't alone. Bella's confidence in her double life began to waver as Nathan grew more distant. He no longer asked about her plans or pressed her for details, and his newfound confidence only added to her unease. One evening, Bella returned home to find Nathan dressed sharply, his cologne lingering in the air. "Heading out?" she asked, trying to sound casual. "Yeah," Nathan replied with a smile. "Dinner with a friend." Bella's stomach twisted. "Oh." "Elena," Nathan said simply, grabbing his keys. "Don't wait up." For the first time, Bella felt a pang of jealousy, a feeling she hadn't expected. Nathan's revenge culminated at a charity gala his company was sponsoring. He invited Elena as his date, and together they stole the spotlight. Nathan's confidence and charisma were on full display, while Elena's warmth and intelligence captivated everyone they met. Bella, who had attended the gala with Matt, watched from across the room as Nathan and Elena laughed and mingled. She felt an unfamiliar ache in her chest, a mixture of regret, jealousy, and the painful realization that she had lost him. When their eyes met briefly, Nathan gave her a polite smile before turning back to Elena. For Bella, it was the final confirmation. Nathan had moved on, and she had no one to blame but herself. Bella's world seemed to crumble around her in the days that followed the gala. She couldn't escape the haunting image of Nathan and Elena, the way they seemed so effortlessly happy while she was trapped in the web of her own lies. At work, she couldn't focus. At home, every glance at Nathan felt like a stark reminder of her own betrayal. She had underestimated how deeply Nathan had been hurt and how far he would go to reclaim control of his life. The truth was, Bella wasn't prepared for the emotional distance that Nathan had created. She had assumed that after all the pain she caused him, he would be the one chasing her, groveling for forgiveness. But instead, Nathan had done the unthinkable. He had walked away, fully embracing his own transformation and the new life he was building without her. It wasn't just about Matt anymore. It wasn't even about the affair. Bella was being forced to face a much more painful truth. She had let something beautiful slip through her fingers, not because of one mistake, but because of a pattern of neglect and selfishness. One evening, she decided to confront Nathan, to try to salvage whatever was left. She entered their home, her heart pounding, but when she saw him in the living room, talking to Elena on the phone, something in her snapped. "Is this what it's come to?" Bella said, her voice trembling as she stepped into the room. Nathan looked up, his expression unreadable. He set the phone down. "What do you mean? You've moved on so quickly. What happened to us?" Her words were desperate, but she could hear the unspoken guilt and regret creeping in. Nathan's gaze softened, but his voice was steady. "Bella, you stopped fighting for us long before I did. I'm not the man I used to be, and I don't think I ever will be again. But you're still trying to pretend nothing's changed." Bella's chest tightened. "I made a mistake. A huge one. But I love you." I do. I want us to fix this. Nathan shook his head. Love isn't enough anymore, Bella. What we had was built on trust, and you destroyed that. I gave everything to you. Everything, and you gave me lies. I can't just forget that. You don't get to ask for a second chance after this. He stood up, walking past her toward the door. I'm done, Bella. You have to face the consequences of your actions. I can't do this anymore. Bella watched him walk out of the door, leaving her standing alone in the silence of their now empty home. The weight of her choices hung over her like a storm cloud, and for the first time, she understood the true cost of her betrayal. Nathan, on the other hand, was no longer the man who had been so heartbroken and vulnerable. He had taken control of his own fate, building a new version of himself that wasn't tethered to the past. His newfound confidence was evident in every step he took, and the respect he gained from his colleagues and friends was palpable. He had turned his pain into power. Elena had become a steady presence in his life. Though their relationship wasn't defined yet, Nathan felt something he hadn't felt in years: hope. Elena's unwavering support reminded him that he wasn't alone, and that love didn't have to come with strings of betrayal attached. Months later, Bella reached out to Nathan. She had filed for divorce, knowing that she had no choice but to face the consequences of her actions. She apologized, but it felt hollow. Nathan had already moved on, and his response was simple yet final. I hope you find what you're looking for, Bella. But I found what I need. I found myself. Nathan closed that chapter of his life, walking forward without looking back. His revenge had been far more than just a few calculated steps. It had been a reclaiming of his identity, his strength, and his peace. Nathan's journey was one of transformation, but also of deep reflection. He realized that revenge, while satisfying in the moment, wasn't the true victory. The real triumph came when he realized he could survive betrayal, not because he sought to destroy those who hurt him, but because he had learned to rebuild himself from the ground up. With each passing day, he felt more like the man he used to be, and then some. The bitterness that once consumed him had faded, replaced by a quiet strength that came from the knowledge that he had never lost himself, even when Bella had tried to take everything away. As he stood in front of the mirror one evening, adjusting his tie for yet another important work event, Nathan smiled. It wasn't a smile of vengeance, but one of peace, a smile that told him he was finally free. Months passed, and Nathan's life seemed to settle into a rhythm of success and personal growth. Elena remained a trusted confidant, but their relationship never moved beyond friendship, much to Nathan's own relief. He wasn't ready for anything more, and in a strange way, he wasn't sure he ever would be. He was content with his progress, with the work he had put into rebuilding himself. Then, one afternoon, as Nathan was walking into a cafe, he spotted someone in the corner, a familiar face he hadn't seen in months. It was Bella. She sat by herself, staring into her coffee cup as though the weight of the world had settled upon her. Her once carefree demeanor was gone, replaced with a more fragile, introspective air. She looked up, her eyes meeting his, and for a brief second, Nathan saw the woman he had once loved, the woman he thought he would spend forever with. But the moment passed quickly. Nathan stood frozen for a heartbeat before he moved toward her table. Bella, he said, his voice neutral. She blinked, her lips trembling as she attempted a smile. Nathan, I didn't expect to see you. I was just grabbing a coffee, he said, standing across from her. He didn't sit down, and his tone was cautious. How are you? Bella sighed, folding her hands together. I'm trying to figure it out. It's been hard. I've been working on myself too. Nathan studied her for a moment, taking in the woman who had once been his whole world. Her appearance had softened, and the edges of her pain were evident in the way she spoke. Yet, despite the changes, Nathan realized there was something missing from their conversation, something that had once been so easy between them. There was no familiarity anymore, no connection. You've been through a lot, Nathan said after a pause. But I've been through my own journey too, Bella. I've worked hard to get where I am. It hasn't been easy. I know, Bella said, her voice thick with regret. I've seen it, Nathan. I don't expect forgiveness, but I wanted to tell you that I'm sorry. I know I hurt you. I destroyed something beautiful. Nathan's heart gave a pang, but it wasn't the kind of pain he once felt. It was different now, like a bruise that had healed but still throbbed occasionally. I appreciate you saying that, he replied, though he kept his distance. But apology doesn't change what happened. It doesn't change what you took from me. I didn't mean to take it, Bella said softly. I wasn't thinking. I lost sight of everything, and now I see what it cost me. What it cost us? Nathan's eyes softened for a moment, but he quickly regained his composure. You've learned a lot, I see. But I've learned too. I'm not the same man I was when we were together. A silence hung between them, heavy and thick. Bella looked down at her coffee, as if trying to find the right words. I'm sorry for the way things ended, she said again, her voice cracking slightly. I wanted to be the person you needed, but I wasn't. I was too selfish. You didn't deserve that. Nathan nodded, his face unreadable. I didn't deserve it, and I can't go back to that. There was no bitterness in his words, only the finality of a chapter that had been closed long ago. Bella didn't seem surprised. She nodded as if she had already accepted the reality of their situation. I understand, she whispered. With that, Nathan stood up, giving Bella one last glance before walking out of the cafe. He felt a sense of closure that he hadn't known he needed, but it was there nonetheless. The pain of their past had dulled, and though there were moments when he thought about what they had lost, he knew he had outgrown that version of himself. As he walked into the sunlight, he realized that the woman sitting behind him, once his everything, was now a stranger. And that was okay. A few weeks after his unexpected encounter with Bella, Nathan felt an even deeper sense of contentment settle over him. His professional life was thriving, and his personal growth was far from over. There were still moments of doubt, of course, moments when the shadow of his past crept into his thoughts. But they no longer held power over him. He had learned something invaluable through his pain. Revenge, while sweet, had been more about reclaiming his sense of self than about hurting Bella. And in the end, it wasn't her downfall that brought him peace, but his own resurgence. The journey back to himself had been the true victory. Nathan continued to focus on his work, diving deeper into personal projects that fed his creativity and passion. Elena remained a good friend, someone he could rely on, but he wasn't looking for anything more. He had learned the importance of independence, of standing on his own, of building a future that didn't hinge on someone else. As the months passed, a sense of gratitude began to replace the anger that had once consumed him. He was grateful for the lessons he had learned, for the strength he had found within himself, and for the future that lay ahead. One evening, as he stood on the balcony of his apartment, gazing at the city skyline, Nathan realized he was no longer waiting for closure. He had already found it. It wasn't in the apology that Bella had given him, nor in the revenge he had sought. It was in the life he had created for himself, in the person he had become. And for the first time in a long while, Nathan smiled. Not a smile of triumph, not a smile of victory, but a smile of peace. He had let go of the past, and now he was free.